All right, cutting made simple. 2025 cutting season is almost here, so I wanted to make this video to explain kind of the ins and outs of body composition and weight loss, teach you guys exactly what you need to do to gain or maintain your muscle mass while also dropping body fat. We'll start kind of with the science and give you the background info on it, and then I'll get into exactly what you need to do to achieve your ideal body composition. I'll put a timestamp in the description so you can skip right to the actionable steps if you don't care about the science. And then at the end, if you guys have any questions, ZV Strength is my Instagram handle. Shoot me a DM there with any questions, and I'm happy to answer them. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one, with some definitions. Biggest thing is a calorie. What is a calorie? It's just a unit of measurement used to describe the amount of energy in the food that we eat. The biggest thing you need to know is that there are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of body weight. That'll come up quite a bit here later. The number one rule in body composition and weight loss is calories in versus calories out. In physics, there's a law called the conservation of energy, which says that energy is neither created nor destroyed, and that's exactly how your body works as well. Okay, your body weight is determined by a chronic running total of calories in versus calories out. Okay, if you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're in what we'd call a caloric surplus, and your body weight will go up. If you're eating less calories than you burn, you're in a caloric deficit, and your body weight will go down. And if those two numbers match, your body weight will remain the same, and you're in caloric maintenance. Okay. Regardless, your body weight will naturally fluctuate day to day based on multiple different factors, what you ate, when you ate, etc. But overall, chronically, your body weight will follow this pattern. We can break down the calories in versus calories out a little bit further. We'll start with the calories inside. Calories come from your macronutrients, which are going to be proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Okay, and your macros are just the essential nutrients that your body needs to live. They provide the energy that our body uses to run our day-to-day processes. The most important of those macronutrients is going to be the protein. Okay, there are 4 calories per gram of protein, and protein's primarily responsible for building and repairing tissue throughout the body. Muscle is made up of protein. There's lots of other structures that are protein-based within the body. Most people undereat protein, so that's why we're going to focus on it primarily. And the cool thing about protein is it's hard for us to use for energy. Okay, the chemical structure makes it difficult for your body to make protein into an energy source within the cell. So a lot of times if you overeat protein, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Your body will just excrete it out in the bathroom. So that's why we really want to focus on getting really high protein intake to maintain a solid body composition. Most of your protein are going to come from fish, meat, dairy, eggs, stuff like that. And a lot of people, I highly recommend adding in a protein supplement, whether that's powder, a drink, etc. The second macro is carbohydrates. There are also 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, and they're primarily responsible for quick energy. Okay, most of your carbohydrates are going to come from fruits, grains, potatoes, vegetables, and just simple sugars. There are different types of carbohydrates, which will differentiate a little bit. Big difference between simple sugars and fiber, but basically all you need to know is that carbs are used for energy. As I said, fiber is a carbohydrate, but it behaves way differently in your body than do other types of carbohydrates, so it gets its own slide here. A lot of your fiber is going to come from fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Fiber is very hard to digest, but it promotes tons of health benefits that are really important for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. I want to caution you, don't listen to net carbs. Eating too much fiber is also a bad thing. I remember I had one year in college where I was eating about half a pound of chicken and a full bag of that steamed broccoli for every meal, and I got really shredded. I had 6-pack abs and like veins in my stomach, and I was really lean, but my stomach was sticking out like I was pregnant, and I just didn't feel good. So too much fiber can cause a little bit of GI distress, which we don't want. Really, you want to aim for about 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories for you to get all these kind of good benefits without causing too much GI distress. And then we'll move into fats. Fats are a little bit different in that they are 9 calories per gram. Okay, fats are responsible for slower energy, but they're also important for hormone production, cell structure, and your nervous system. Your brain's actually made up primarily of fat. A lot of your fat is going to come from your protein sources, like your meats and stuff, but there's also a lot of fat in dairy, nuts, and oils, whether that's avocado oil, olive oil, etc. In addition to your macronutrients, the proteins, carbs, and fats that give us energy, you also need to make sure that you're consuming enough micronutrients. Okay, these don't have any calories, but they're vital to our daily bodily functions. Okay, these are going to be your various vitamins and minerals. Most of the time you can cover all your bases here just by consuming a wide variety of foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, different colors on your plate, stuff like that. The biggest thing you need to know here is if you're supplementing with any of these vitamins, any of the fat soluble ones, those are going to be A, D, E, and K. You want to make sure you're consuming them with a fat source so that your body can digest them and get all the benefits from there. So now that we've covered how calories come into the body, we need to cover how calories are burned. The total amount of calories you burn on a day-to-day basis is what we'd call your total daily energy expenditure, and it's based on 4 categories. The first and biggest category is going to be your basal metabolic rate. That's how many calories your body needs to sustain life and how many you would burn if you just laid in bed all day without moving. The second factor is going to be the thermic effect of food. That's the amount of calories you burn just digesting the food that you eat to extract those calories that we eat. This is such a small number, maybe makes up like 2 to 5% of your total daily energy expenditure. So it's not something that we want to focus on too much. We can raise it a little bit by eating more fiber and more protein because those are harder to digest. But again, it's such a small number, not worth worrying about. The third factor is going to be your NEAT calories or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's the amount of calories you burn going about your day-to-day life. Whether you're walking the dog, folding laundry, brushing your teeth, you're going to burn some amount of calories doing the regular stuff. And then the last one is the thermic effect of activity. That's how many calories we burn through planned prescribed exercise, whether that's working out, playing sports, lifting weights, running, anything like that. So if calories out are based on those 4 factors and we know calories in is based on the food that we eat, how do we then lose weight? Figure out how many calories you burn in a day and then eat less than that. Usually you can get a good estimation just based on trial and error, but to save a little bit of time, I like to use this Mifflin-St. Joule equation. Plug in your variables to either one of these equations based on your gender, and that'll give you a good idea of what your basal metabolic rate is. Again, that's how many calories you burn just laying in bed, not doing anything. To get your total daily energy expenditure, we want to take your basal metabolic rate and then multiply it by an activity level to account for how much you're moving and exercising throughout the day. If you're watching this, especially if you train at the gym, you're probably falling into this lightly active category. If you're somebody who works construction or is a marathon training or something like that, maybe you're into the active or very active category, but most people are going to be lightly active. So to get a good estimation of your total daily energy expenditure, again, plug your metrics in here. We got body weight in pounds, height in inches, and then age. Plug it in based on your gender, multiply it by 1.375 or whichever activity level fits you the best, and that'll give us a good estimation on your total daily energy expenditure and how many calories you're burning on a day-to-day basis. Now, anytime I'm going through this with a new nutrition client, everybody asks, how fast will I lose weight? How fast will it come off? And there's a little bit more to that than meets the eye. A good goal is you want to aim for a weight loss rate of about 1 to 2% body weight per week. So if you're 200 pounds, that would be 2 to 4 pounds per week. Any slower than that, and your diet will just take forever, and you'll be able to maintain a little bit more lean tissue, but if you're having to track and be really diligent for a longer time, that makes it more difficult. And any faster than 1 to 2% body weight per week, you risk losing muscle mass, which is counterproductive because we want to maintain as much muscle mass as possible, always, really, and we want to just shed off the fat. So a good goal is about a pound a week for most people. So to do that, we know that 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body weight. So take your total daily energy expenditure and subtract 500 calories. And that's what you want to eat on a day-to-day basis. So 500 calorie deficit times 7 days a week equals that 3,500 calories deficit per week. So you'll lose about a pound per week. So to make this easy, I will take you through an example on exactly how I would approach a new nutrition client who's trying to lose some weight. You can kind of follow along and just plug your own numbers in and get numbers that work well for you. So let's say I have a guy come to me. He's a male, works a desk job, 40 years old, 5'10", 200 pounds. He's going to lift twice a week and plays pickup basketball once a week, and he wants to lose weight. So I'd plug his numbers in to find his basal metabolic rate. We get just over 1,800 calories. Multiply it by that lightly active activity level that we talked about earlier, 1826 times 1.375, and we can estimate his total daily energy expenditure at 2,500 calories per day. So then we need to break down on what he needs to eat to lose weight. We know that we want to lose about a pound a week, so we subtract 500 calories from his total daily energy expenditure and give us just over 2,000 calories per day to lose that pound per week. We'll start with protein again because it's most important. And at a minimum, you want to aim for 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Okay, so 0.8 times 200 pounds is going to leave us with 160 grams of protein per day. There are 4 calories per gram of protein, so that 160 grams is going to take 640 calories of his allotted 2011 and leave us with 1,371 calories left to be divided up between carbs and fats. Okay, carbs and fats are generally interchangeable. There's one kind of caveat that we'll go over here in a second, but start with your protein and then you can kind of divide the rest of your calories up however you like. So the caveat on carbs and fats being borderline interchangeable is the fact that fats are important for hormone production. We don't want to diet so aggressively and lower our fats so low that it tanks our ability to produce hormones. So to be safe, we want to make sure that 30% of our calories come from fats. Okay, we already went through the protein. We know that the protein is going to take up 640 calories of our total 2011. We'll stick with that 2011, multiply by 30%, and that leaves us with just over 600 calories coming from fats as a minimum. Okay, divide that 603 calories by 9 calories per gram of fat, and that's going to leave you at 67 grams of fat per day so that we can, again, minimize that tank on our hormone production from not having enough fats within the system. I like to use round, pretty numbers, so we'll move it up to 70 grams of fat just for ease of calculation, which is going to take away 630 calories per day of our allotted 2011 and leave us with 741 calories remaining for your carbs. Easy enough. From there, it's pretty simple. Again, we have 2011 calories per day, total allotted to try to lose a pound a week. We know that protein is going to take up 640 of those calories. Fats are going to take up 630, which leaves us with 741 left for carbs. There are 4 calories per gram of carbs. 741 divided by 4 is going to be just over 185 grams of carbs. And you could basically be done there. If you're cool with that, eat 160 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and 185 grams of carbs per day, and this person will lose about a pound per week. Now, I started you with minimums. So say you don't like that and you want something a little bit different. Maybe you don't need the carbs and you like higher fat meals. Fine. Again, we know calories are calories, and there are 9 calories per gram of fat, 4 calories per gram of carbs. So to make it easy, whatever you want to do to bump up your fats, just subtract twice that amount from carbs. So again, we'll stick with our proteins. We'll raise our fats. Say you want to eat 20 more grams of fat per day, add 20 grams of fat. So I'd subtract 40 grams of carbs, and I could do 160 grams of protein, 90 grams of fat, and 145 grams of carbs, which would leave me at 2,030 calories, which is a little bit higher, but in the grand scheme of things, it'll work just about the same. You've got options, but you want to make sure you're kind of hitting your minimums, which is why I always start there first. So I know what you're thinking. What if I want to track my macros? I'm a numbers person, so I like to track. I track my macros year round. And if I know what calories are coming in and what calories are going out, I know I'm going to lose weight, and it just works every time. But if you're not trying to get super peeled, super shredded, you just want to lose 5, 10, 20 pounds or whatever, a good estimation will work most of the time for most people. All you have to do is just plan a little bit in advance and know borderline what you're doing. The number one thing I recommend is to find a few staple meals. A lot of people eat pretty much the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day. So just go through that example that I just gave you, figure out how many calories you should be eating, and then figure out a breakfast and a lunch that fit within those macros and set you up well for the rest of the day. From there, all you have to do is follow a couple basic guidelines, and you'll get 80 to 90% of the results without having to track a thing. So if you're one of those people that doesn't want to track your calories or track your macros, go through that example that I talked about, get prepared, find a couple staple meals, and then follow these basic guidelines, and I promise you'll get 80 to 90% of the way there. Okay, number one, again, make sure protein is a priority. It's really important for building and maintaining muscle mass, and you're probably already under-consuming it. And if you over-consume protein, again, your body's not going to store it. It's hard to be used for energy, so you'll probably just get rid of it anyway. Might as well just eat more protein, okay? A good rule of thumb I tell people is to pair protein with either a carbohydrate or a fat with each meal. If you want to lose weight or have been gaining weight, you're probably overeating carbs or fats. So we want to reduce these as much as possible while maintaining high protein. So for example, if I'm eating a chicken breast, which is a lean protein source, meaning it doesn't have a lot of fat, I can then probably pair it with a carbohydrate, whether it's rice, potatoes, fruit, whatever. But if I'm going for like a ribeye, something that's really fatty, I already have protein and fats, I then don't want to add a carb too. I would just pair it with like vegetables or something. Okay. That leads me to the next one. Vegetables are your friend. Vegetables are phenomenal because they bring you lots of micronutrients, those vitamins and minerals that we talked about, and they're going to help you add volume to your food so that you're eating more food without adding a ton of extra calories. You know, you can eat 2 or 3 cups of broccoli, spinach, green beans, or whatever for like less than 200 calories, but it's going to be a lot of food and it's going to fill you up a little bit faster. So the next one, limit snacks, dessert, alcohol, stuff like that. Dessert kind of speaks for itself. If you're trying to lose weight, sweets probably aren't going to help you. Alcohol has 7 calories per gram. Each shot or beer is going to be like 100 to 150 calories. And a lot of these are kind of what we call empty calories, and that they're not going to provide you a ton of energy. If you're a drinker, most people aren't going to just stop drinking alcohol because they want to lose weight. So a good goal is just to reduce your alcohol intake by half. And then the snacks, it's not that you don't need to be eating more times throughout the day or anything like that, but a lot of times people just snack mindlessly, and it's not because they're hungry or it's not because they need more fuel or anything like that. They're just eating calories to give their brain something to do. So if we can limit that and take away calories in there, that'll get us a little bit closer to the goal. And then finally, hunger and satiety. It's really important to kind of monitor your hunger and understand how it works. A lot of times, if I'm losing weight, I'm looking to be hungry about an hour to an hour and a half before my next meal. Most of the time, when people think that they're hungry, they're really just bored or maybe even thirsty. So make sure when you feel like you're hungry and go to eat something, it's actual hunger. A lot of times I tell people, if an apple doesn't sound good, you're probably just bored, not actually hungry. So pay attention to that. You're going to have a little bit of hunger, and we need to embrace a little bit of hunger because we are eating less than we're burning and your body's craving a little bit more fuel. But we need to kind of sit with that and teach our body to use the fat that we already have stored as fuel and not just keep feeding it more and more every time it says that it's a little bit hungry. And then finally, move as much as possible. It's really easy for us to control the calories in and reduce that number as much as possible, but we know we need to eat less calories than we burn. So if we can increase that calories outside of the equation as much as possible, that'll again get you just one step closer to your goal body composition. Now, even if you're not tracking calories, it's a good idea to know about how much protein, carbs, and fats are in the foods that you're eating. So I'll give you a couple easy ways to kind of guesstimate your proteins, carbs, and fats. We'll just run through these really quick. Protein, again, most important, 4 ounces of meat or fish is going to be about 25 grams of protein, and that's going to be about the size of the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. And then the other common ones, 1 scoop of protein powder is a little bit over 20 grams of protein. 1 slice of cheese or 1 egg is going to be about 5 grams of protein. All the protein in an egg is in the egg white. The yolk is all fat, which is why it tastes so good. And then 1 cup of Greek yogurt or cottage cheese is also about 25 grams of protein. So if you're kind of planning your meals out and you need to get to 100 grams of protein, then you know that you're going to need about 4 decks of cards of meat or fish, or you can kind of break it up and pull from any of these sources. Same thing with carbs. A lot of your carbs are going to be in intervals of like 15 to 30 grams. So 1 cup of rice is 30 grams of carbs, 2 slices of bread, 30 grams of carbs. 1 large potato is going to be about 45 grams of carbs. And then fruits kind of add up as well. You can see orange juice, 16 ounces of orange juice is about 52 grams of carbs, and those are liquid calories. Not the end of the world, but again, it's not going to help with any satiety. So I would look to stay away from a lot of your liquid calories. And then fruits, you can eat a decent amount of strawberries for only 20 grams of carbs. So fruits are generally a pretty good idea there. And then fats. Fats are tricky because very few foods are strictly fats. The foods that are only fat that you're going to eat are going to be your olive oil, avocado oil, butter, peanut butter, stuff like that. Most of your fat will come from your protein source, like that chicken breast and the ribeye that we talked about. When it comes to the oils and butters, 1 tablespoon or like 1 pat of butter is going to be about 15 grams of fat. If it's oil, it's going to be about the size of your thumb for 1 tablespoon. Another common source is almonds. 20 almonds is about 15 grams of fat. Again, these are 9 calories per gram, so 15 grams of fat adds up quite a bit. Again, most of your fats will come from your protein sources. 8 ounces of chicken breast is only 16 grams of fat, but 8 ounces of a ribeye is 45 grams of fat. So be cautious there when you're choosing your protein sources, because a lot of fats are going to come with that. Then finally, you want to be really cautious of hidden calories. Again, we're trying to eat less calories than we burn. So when in doubt, you want to overestimate your calories, because some of the calories that you eat, you're not going to think to account for. One big culprit is going to be the sauce, like, barbecue sauce, pasta sauce, whatever. Most sauces are going to be either carb or fat based, whether it's mayo or sugar. And a lot of times there's 80 to 200 calories per tablespoon of sauce, depending on what kind of sauce you're using. And if you're a small person, that can take up a large percentage of your allotted calories per day. So you want to be really cautious on that. And again, alcohol, we talked about. One shot of an 80 proof liquor, 140 calories. One glass of wine, 150 calories. So the alcohol adds up quite a bit too. And then one thing that most people don't think about is protein bars. They know, like, protein healthy, yes, but a lot of these actually come as like meal replacements. So you can look, I just pulled one from a Cliff Bar, 6 grams of fat, 43 grams of carbs, and only 10 grams of protein. 250 calories isn't bad, but it's not getting you a ton closer to your protein goal while still providing a lot of carbs and a little bit of fat. So again, you want to make sure you account for all of that there as well, and make sure you stay under your allotted numbers per day. Now, I'm throwing a ton of information at you guys, and especially with nutrition and fitness and wellness and stuff like that, everybody has a ton of opinions. You're going to hear different things on TikTok and in magazines and stuff like that. So I want to give you a quick priority list on what does matter versus what doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Things that matter: calories in, calories out, macros, right? We've got to eat less than we burn, so we want to burn as much as possible. And then we want to make sure that the calories in is made up of a good balance of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, okay, for all the reasons that we already talked about. Next one's consistency. Doing this 3 to 4 days a week and then just screwing up on the weekends, it's going to be really, really hard for you to make any lasting changes. So you have to be consistent as much as possible. And then finally, food quality. There's a lot of buzz on whether it's organic or grass-fed or whatever. Food quality is definitely under your macros and calories in versus calories out. Having high quality food is not going to make the law of thermodynamics not apply, but food quality being high will definitely make your body operate a little bit better and make all of these above it work just a little bit more efficiently. Now, with that being said, things that don't matter: meal frequency. It doesn't matter how many times you eat, whether you're 3 meals a day, 1 meal a day, 7 meals a day. If we're equating calories in versus calories out, it doesn't matter how many times you eat. Same thing with meal timing. Back in the day, they used to say that you shouldn't eat after 8 o'clock. You shouldn't have carbs before bed. Again, it doesn't really matter. If you're eating less than you burned, you're going to lose weight. And then macro timing. If you're a high-level athlete, making sure you have carbs before you train is probably a little bit important. But for most of you, it doesn't matter. Just focus on this stuff up here. Nail this as well as you can, and let the meal frequency, timing, and stuff like that kind of fall wherever it may. A lot of times that's going to be determined by your lifestyle and your schedule for that week. So just focus on making sure you hit your macros, burning a lot of calories, and eating less than you burn. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about training just a little bit. Training is definitely the second most important part of this equation. You can't out-train a bad diet. If you're really pushing and really going hard, you can maybe burn like 10 to 15 calories per minute training really hard, but it's super easy to eat 2, 3, 500 calories in a minute. So we got to make sure we get the nutrition dialed in first, but that doesn't mean the training's not important. For resistance training, like with weights and stuff like that, I recommend at least 2 to 3 times per week. This is really important for preserving and building muscle mass. Okay, when you're working out and lifting weights, that's telling your body like, hey, I need this muscle mass. I'm going to use it. Please build more. And it's less likely for your body to break down muscle and use it for energy. So we want to make sure that we're keeping resistance training within the schedule. And then in addition to that, your cardio training, again, I recommend 2 to 3 times a week, whether it's HIIT, intervals, low intensity, steady state, whatever you prefer. It doesn't really matter. Cardio training is really important to improve cardiovascular and metabolic health, which basically means it's going to help your heart health and help your body move through calories and mobilize energy more efficiently. And cardio training is going to increase your calories out. You're going to burn way more calories doing 45 minutes of cardio than you will doing resistance training. So both are very important. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about losing body fat and improving your body composition. From there, all you really need to do is execute and track your progress. I'm, again, a numbers person, so I step on the scale every morning just to track my body weight. But honestly, you can track literally anything. You can do body weight. You can do waist measurements. You can put on your favorite pair of jeans and see how they fit. You can take progress pictures. Again, doesn't really matter what you track as long as you're consistent. Tracking your progress is going to give you kind of an extra level of accountability because you know each week I'm going to check in with myself and see if I got better or worse or stayed the same. And I like it because it kind of gives me a peace of mind and extra motivation to know that all the work that I'm putting in is not for nothing and I'm improving and getting closer and closer towards my goals. So I hope I answered all of your questions. I try to make it as simple as possible. Good luck to everybody in the challenge. If you guys have any questions on anything that wasn't clear or anything I didn't go over, shoot me a text or send me a DM on Instagram at ZVStrength. If you guys follow everything I've laid out here, I'm confident you'll be really shocked with the amount of progress that you can make, and I'm excited to see it. So good luck.